And joining us now for further analysis is Bob Nugent, research fellow at the Busch School of Business at the Catholic University of America. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit more about this baby formula shortage. It really is a matter of life or death for some parents and their babies, as it's something they really can't go without. That said, how do you think something like this happened here in the United States of all places? And do you think it could have been avoided?
Well, there's a couple of factors. First of all, thanks for having me. And there are a couple of factors I think at work here. One is baby formula as a relatively low margin product. And so the concentration of the industry into only several firms providing production is one contribution. The other is some tariff barriers and administrative barriers that have prevented other firms, international firms, which are now jumping in, from actually participating in the market. So this concentration, and I think a disconnect across branches of government. The FDA is involved, the Commerce Department's involved. There's a lot of other agencies involved, and as particularly we've seen in the last couple of years of supply chain issues related to many things like COVID and what have you, we're discovering that that supply chain is made up of many links, and some of those links can be very, very vulnerable in specific events, like the closure of the factory in Michigan, can lead to nationwide issues. So I come from a naval background, and the business of planning for strategic surprise to avoid strategic surprise is something that I think could be put more in play here to avoid these sorts of surprises in the future.
Yeah, Bob, we've been hearing, the Abbott plant's going to be up and running pretty soon, but, even once it is, it'll take at least a few weeks, possibly even months, before store shelves are fully stocked again with the formula. Can you explain to us, why this seems like such a long process to get it from the manufacturer to the store? And also, is there a way around that to sort of expedite the process?
Well, interestingly enough, we've been following the news. I'm sure you've been following the news about shortages of trucking, shortages of transport. All of those are involved in this nationwide scheme. We have been the envy of the world in our ability to do logistics, but issues like shortage of drivers, shortage of transport, increasing costs of fuel and transportation all play into the issue of moving goods from where they're produced to where they're needed. And in terms of government action that might be taken to alleviate it, I think there's some short-term things that might be taken, but fundamentally, the concentration of the oversized role this plant plays in production means that it's going to limit our ability, government and producers and people in the commercial sector, from actually moving. You can't move it faster than the roads and the capacity can take you. And so the supply chain is made up of many links, some of which are more vulnerable and less flexible than others. And so I think that's part of the reason why we'll see this time lag between production and arrival on the shelves.
Can we talk about the vulnerability of our nation's supply chain and also how that relates to our national security?
Very much so. This isn't the first, and it isn't going to be the last. We have had an underinvestment in many critical parts of our national infrastructure for years. Energy, electric grid, I can go on and on, railroads, highways, and roads. So in the sense that because we have underinvested, and we've underinvested in capacity, and we've created barriers to more competition in the industry, those have, I think, both combined to create several bottlenecks. And these bottlenecks are concerning. I'm a father of 7. I can just imagine the frustration of families trying to feed their children. And then you pile on top of that inflation and the fact that you have to drive further and farther to find the formula, and it costs more to do so. So there's a sort of a cascading chain of events, and that's one of the lessons of supply chain management is a single link breaking can really disrupt the entire system. And I think you're seeing that happen here.
Yeah, and you mentioned inflation, and as you know, it's a huge concern for everyone right now. And now there are also growing concerns that the U.S. could be heading towards a period of stagflation. That's something that the former Fed chair, Ben Bernanke, actually recently mentioned. That said, for those who may not know, can you explain to us what exactly stagflation is and also how it impacts us in our own pocketbooks?
Well, I'm dating myself now, but it's been 40 years since the nation's experienced this combination of both inflation and low growth, which is what stagflation adds up to. And there's a variety of factors contributing to it: stimulus, overstimulus, if you will, of the economy, shortfalls in supply chain resulting from some COVID disruptions. All of those add up to this puzzle, this unpleasant puzzle we're looking at trying to solve now. I think, quite frankly, nobody really knows just where we are. And I think that's why you're seeing the market react the way it is, why government officials are reacting the way it is, because it's been so long since we've encountered this set of circumstances that have come together. And so I would give it a bit of time for it to shake out. But the market, I think, is clearly communicating that it expects high inflation over at least the next couple or 3 years. And all of that's going to factor into decisions that companies make about where to invest and how to fund. As far as your question about what could we do about it, well, there are strategic stockpiles of some critical components, oil, semiconductors, and I'm loath to say that we ought to invest in a national stockpile of baby formula. On the other hand, we can certainly remove the barriers to allowing the market to work at its best, and both administrative and competitive barriers, I think, are at work here. And at least the news is indicating that might be lightening up a bit, but it's a long-term concern that we need to be addressing.
Well, Bob, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for your analysis.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks for the chance.